Why not get people like Tony Blair involved to help us solve a national crisis? We have got, absolutely got, to up the pace of vaccination.
Hello everyone, Michael here, Christ of England. Today I wanted to do a quick video explaining why Nigel Farage of Reform is not the great hope for England. Let's go. Okay, I do this video because it's actually very important. I don't want people to waste their time too much on Nigel Farage and Reform. And I do concede that they will be better than our Labour government, which isn't difficult, but I'm going to explain why they will not take us to the promised land, and they may actually even just be a distraction. Now, ultimately, all people in the UK know our countries are messed up and we want answers and solutions to our problems. And our problems stem from the fact that our country has been sold down the river. The real powers that be are the likes of BlackRock, the banks, Qatar investment funds, Bill Gates. They hold the true power, and the politicians are just puppets to the merchants and all the financial interests. And you have the likes of BlackRock and World Economic Forum who promote in all this Marxist communist nonsense. And then you have the likes of the Qatar investment funds who are behind, most likely, all this spread of Islam. You know, as Islam seems to be taken over, it's because Qatar investment fund have loads of money invested in the UK, and they're probably trying to infiltrate Islam along with their other plans. And there's sort of an unholy alliance between the Marxists and the Islamists, because they both use each other to take over. And then once they destroy the system, they'll fight it out to see who can take over the country. You know, this is what happened in Iran. The Marxists and Islamists worked together to take down the country, and then ultimately the Islamists just killed all the Marxists and took over with the Ayatollah, and Iran has gone to hell ever since, despite being a great country with great, wise, intellectual people. Now, I explain why that's our problem because it's important to understand what our problem actually is. It's not just the Labour Party and Keir Starmer. The problem is the system is completely broken. And our answer is a spiritual revolution, because we're living in a materialistic society run by merchants. What we should be doing is living in a spiritual society run by the spiritual wise and a spiritual authority. And that's what happens in traditional societies. Our whole society is based towards spiritual values, happiness, family values, rather than money, 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 me, take, take, take. And that is the answer to our problem. That's the reason why I've set up the Christ of England. And now I'm going to explain why Nigel Farage and Reform are a distraction, because people are beat down in this country. And I see it's a good thing because people are looking for somewhere to turn to. Well, what I'm saying is we need to turn to the loving Father and to Christ's Spirit. Not Christianity, but the loving Father, the true loving Father, through Christ's Spirit. And we need a spiritual and cultural revolution in our country. That is the answer. But what's happening now is Reform are coming along trying to give answers, and it's giving people hope. And that's what I believe is bad, because it's just yet another distraction, because Nigel Farage and Reform are not going to overthrow our current system. Now, if Nigel Farage and Reform were talking about spiritual values, and we need to look at the spiritual health, and we need to crack down on the likes of BlackRock and Qatar investment funds, and make sure that the British people are the financial owners of the country, not these just merchants from other countries. Now, if Reform and Farage were talking like that, I would support them. But Farage is not. Farage doesn't have the courage to do what's needed. And let me just give you some multiple examples. One big red flag is Nigel Farage backed down to Islam. Islam is one of the biggest threats to the country. And Nigel Farage was going, well, you know, we're not going to win if we don't get some of the Muslim vote. And he's obviously appointed a Muslim as the chairman of his party. So immediately, Farage has let us down there. And he also backed down on mass deportations. Anybody knows that our country is being absolutely ravaged by illegal and legal migration, and we need a lot of people booted out of our country. And I'm not talking about all the good migrants. There's loads of great migrants here who are more than welcome. I'm talking about all the illegals, all the Islamists, all the people who wave flags for other countries, all the politicians who get into parliament and then start talking about what they're going to do for Pakistan. I was elected for Pakistan and all this stuff. Well, you love Pakistan so much, we'll send you on a flight back to Pakistan. And all these people marching for Palestine, we'll send you to Palestine. All the people who are marching for Syria, well, the war's ended now, you can go back home. All of them who hate the West and hate our society can go back home. All the people who are interested in racial ideology, go back home. This country is for the English and for the good migrants who are welcome to make our country better. You know, many of my favourite YouTubers in the UK are not even English. You know, Momus Najmi is Pakistan, Lubna from Pakistan. I follow another guy recently, or a couple who are from Iran. And there's many Europeans. So this is not necessarily about English being the best. It's ultimately about this country belongs to the English and we are happy to have the good migrants to help us. And the good migrants accept the fact that this country should be massive majority ethnically English. I'm talking 95%. And if we drop below 90%, then things are going wrong and we need to turn it around. And that's not due to any hatred of anybody else. It's purely about love of the native people of our country. And that's how traditional societies are. Even Jesus was a proud Jew, so this is not controversial. Okay, and when it came to Farage, he was another normie. Just look at COVID. He was another normie. He was out there banging his pots and pans. He took the medical treatments, which anybody who's awake knew that you're probably best steering clear of it. And he even came out and said, oh, let's put Tony Blair in charge of the vaccine rollout. You know, absolute stupidity. Tony Blair is probably the biggest psychopath in the last 30 years of this country. And he's done more damage to the UK than probably both of the world wars. And he's the one who sparked all this mass migration. And recently, I also saw Nigel Farage took £40,000 to do a speech for Nomad Capitalist. And nothing particularly wrong with what happened, but it shows his values. He's a nomad capitalist. He's a capitalist in terms of he doesn't truly believe in Britain being British and staying British if he's a nomad capitalist. If you're encouraging people to go wherever is more beneficial to your money, then you don't truly love your country. So you can't really trust someone like Farage. You need to trust somebody who loves Britain, who loves the spirit, and is going to fight for the country. And finally, one thing with Nigel Farage is, to me, it seems like Nigel Farage is interested in Nigel Farage rather than saving the UK. I think Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib have his number in terms of Nigel Farage doesn't want to make the UK better. He wants to become Prime Minister. And this is why, for example, Nigel Farage says, oh, we can't not have the Muslim vote, because Nigel Farage is more interested in becoming Prime Minister than making England better. So Nigel Farage is happy for the Muslims population to go to 10, 15, 20% as long as he's Prime Minister. Whereas what should happen is a noble leader in the UK would understand the dangers of Islam, and Nigel Farage should be coming out saying the best thing for England is Islam to be banned because it's completely opposite of our British values or English values. But Nigel Farage doesn't care about England and the people. He cares about becoming Prime Minister, and he'd rather rule over the ashes than make the country better. Okay, so I wanted to do that video just to tell people, don't put your hopes in Farage and reform. Whilst I agree that there is some benefit, because obviously a reform government will be better than Labour, and that we do have to pay attention to politics. What I'm trying to get people to understand is that we need a spiritual and cultural revolution in our country. And our main focus should be on that. Once we sort that out, everything else will fall into place. Because once you have a massive spiritual and cultural revolution, then the leaders that follow will be of spiritual values, higher spiritual values. And then those leaders will change government and we can get to the promised land. Okay, so that's the point of my video today. If you like what I'm talking about, for now, come and subscribe to this channel. I'm just getting this movement started. I hope to set up some form of membership scheme or more official plans going forward. But as I say, this is just early days and we're just getting started. And there is a lot of hope for England, but only if we have a spiritual revolution and we turn to the true loving Father and the truth of Jesus Christ and the Spirit of Christ, then we can make it. If not, then the country is going to go to hell in a handbasket and nobody is going to save it, not even Reform. Okay, so that's the point of my video today. Subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like it, share it with as many English people and British people as you can, and God bless everybody. Goodbye.